The flickering fluorescent lights cast long shadows across the dimly lit archive room of the historical museum, where Janine sat surrounded by towering shelves filled with dusty files and forgotten artifacts. As the clock ticked towards midnight, she felt a familiar thrill. Late-night research was her sanctuary. With a sigh of satisfaction, she sifted through a stack of old documents and a crumpled note slipped from between the pages of a weathered folder. Her heart raced as she unfolded it, revealing a series of hastily scrawled directions and a cryptic message. Seek the truth buried beneath the Elwood legacy. Curiosity ignited within her, but the name Elwood tugged at her memory. The Elwoods were a prominent local family, their name intertwined with the city's history. Why had this note been overlooked? As she pondered the implications, unease settled in her stomach. What secrets lay hidden in the archives? Determined to follow the note's lead, Janine ventured into the restricted section of the museum, a place few dared to tread. The air grew heavy with dust, and shadows danced as she flicked on her flashlight. Amid the silence, she discovered an empty folder labeled The Elwood Legacy. Looking for something, a voice startled her. It was Samuel, a fellow archivist whose brow furrowed with concern. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you. You shouldn't be here, he warned, glancing nervously around the dimly lit room. Stay away from the Elwood files. It's not worth it. Janine felt a chill run down her spine at his words. Why? What happened? Archivists who chased the Elwood story. They left abruptly. No one talks about it. She couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he let on. But his warning only fueled her resolve. The next day, Janine found herself visiting Mr. Halston, an elderly professor known for his extensive knowledge of the museum's collections. After a brief conversation in his residence, he agreed to meet her in the library. The Elwoods, he said, leaning back in his chair. Fascinating family, full of secrets. His eyes flickered with a mix of fear and intrigue. As he shared tales of their history, Janine sensed he was holding back. You seem hesitant, she noted. Halston's expression hardened. There are things best left undiscovered. Despite his warnings, Janine couldn't dismiss the feeling that he held the key to unraveling the mysteries she'd begun to explore. Later that week, Janine discovered a hidden diary among the exhibits, its pages yellowed with age. She carefully opened it, revealing a series of encrypted messages connected to the Elwood family. Each line felt like a breadcrumb leading her deeper into the labyrinth of secrets. But as she deciphered the entries, unease settled in her gut. The diary spoke of tragic accidents and whispered threats surrounding the Elwood name, detailing the fates of archivists who had dared to delve too deeply. A knot tightened in her stomach. Why had this history been buried? As the weeks passed, Janine's investigation intertwined with flashbacks of Martin, a previous archivist who had pursued the same trail. In the dim light of her office, she found Martin's journal tucked away, its pages filled with frantic scrawls detailing his attempts to expose the Elwood secrets. He had uncovered a letter that implicated the family in scandals that could shake the city's foundations. The entries became more erratic, revealing his growing paranoia, culminating in a final plea. If anyone finds this, beware the shadows lurking in the archives. Janine felt the chill. Martin had vanished after completing his research. Was she destined for the same fate? One evening, as Janine returned to the archives, she overheard hushed voices. Peeking through the stacks, she saw a gathering of familiar faces, the very archivists who had warned her away. They spoke in low tones about protecting the museum's reputation and controlling the narrative of the Elwood family's legacy. Janine is getting too close, one whispered, glancing around nervously. Panic surged through her as she realized she had stumbled upon a secret society operating within the museum, intent on guarding the truths of the past. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Janine stealthily went back to her search, and after what seemed like hours, she finally uncovered the missing letter. As she held it in her trembling hands, quickly reading through it, the words revealed the Elwood family's dark secrets, their involvement in corrupt dealings and cover-ups. The implications were staggering. This could change everything. Suddenly, the archive door creaked open, and she spun around to find Mr. Holston standing there, his expression grave. "I know what you found," he said, stepping closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "You must destroy it before it's too late." "Why?" Janine demanded, her heart racing. "This information needs to be known. It could change everything." Holston shook his head, glancing toward the door as if fearing an unseen presence. "If you expose this, it won't just be the Elwoods affected. Innocent people, families, employees are tied to their legacy. They'll suffer because of their actions. Is that a price you're willing to pay?" Janine felt her conviction waver, but she looked at the letter again. It was time to make a choice. Janine's mind raced with the weight of Holston's words. Should she betray her principles for the greater good? Or would silence preserve the well-being of those uninvolved? The choice felt unbearable. As she stood there, torn between the urgency to reveal the corruption and the warning echoing in her mind, she noticed a shadow moving outside the window. She glanced out to see a figure lurking near the museum's entrance. Watching intently, fear crept into her heart, and she realized the danger was real. What if they already knew she was onto them? Caught in a moral quandary, Janine felt the walls closing in, wrestling with the decision that could alter the course of her life. But the thought of innocent lives affected by the Elwoods' actions ignited her determination. "No," Janine finally replied, her voice steady. "The truth must come out, no matter the cost." With renewed resolve, Janine decided to gather evidence to support her findings. She reached out to local journalists and activists, hoping to raise awareness about the Elwood family's impact on the community. Working tirelessly, she compiled her research and prepared a presentation for the local press. With each passing day, she felt a growing sense of purpose and urgency, knowing she was on the brink of exposing the truth. As the day of the press conference approached, Janine felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She had gathered testimonies from those affected by the Elwood family's actions and evidence that could not be denied. On the day of the event, the room was filled with reporters and community members. As Janine stood before them, the Elwood family has used their influence to silence those who dare to speak out. She began, her voice strong. "But today, we will shed light on the truth." Janine laid bare the secrets hidden within the archives, revealing the corruption and cover-ups that had persisted for decades. The room buzzed with disbelief and outrage, and she knew she had made the right choice. In that moment, she understood that while exposing the truth came with risks, it was a necessary step toward justice. The legacy of the Elwood family would no longer overshadow the lives of those they had harmed. The days following Janine's press conference were a whirlwind of media attention, community support, and unexpected consequences. As she walked the streets, she felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. Her decision to expose the Elwood family's secrets had sparked a conversation that reverberated throughout the city, igniting protests and demands for accountability. But beneath the surface of this newfound activism, shadows loomed. One evening, as Janine sat at her dining table, reviewing articles about the Elwood family's growing controversy, there was a sharp knock at her door. Her heart raced as she approached, bracing herself for the unexpected. When she opened the door, two law officers stood there in mufti, their expressions serious. "Janine Wright," one of them asked, and she nodded, a breath catching in her throat. "You're arrested for defamation of character. The Elwood family has filed charges against you," the officer continued, as the weight of their words sank in. Stunned, Janine felt her pulse quicken. This is absurd. I spoke the truth. The details will be sorted out in court. The officer replied, his tone matter-of-fact as he placed the handcuffs in her hands around her wrists. As they led her away, Janine's mind raced. She hadn't expected legal repercussions for exposing the family, but she refused to let fear silence her. To be continued. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.